Hello and welcome to another edition of the Top Podcast. I'm your host, Michael. Today we're trying a slightly different format. It's going to be just me talking about one topic instead of a top list and digging a little deeper into it. And this will also give us a good opportunity to test out the video format, see if this is something we like doing, if we're any good at it, if it's worth doing more with that now, or if that's something we'll wait for a little farther down the line. But I saw this morning that the Hulu original How I Met Your Father was canceled after 2 seasons. And I have very mixed feelings about this. The show ran for 30 episodes, and for 29 of them, I said anything from this show isn't very good to this show should not be on the air. And then they aired the season finale for season 2, and I went, they got it. They finally figured out how to do this show in a way that feels like How I Met Your Mother. And I'm excited to see if they can carry this into the 3rd season. And then they got canceled. Now, the beginning of the show, it wasn't very good. It was mediocre at best. And I was okay with that. Because if you look at most of the great sitcoms, they're not all How I Met Your Mother. They're not all good immediately. The Office, Parks and Recreation, Seinfeld, Friends. Friends, one of the most beloved sitcoms of all time. First season, that's not the best. And the writers needed time to figure out the characters and for them to grow into each other, grow into themselves. And I was okay with it not being the best during season 1 until I felt like they started trying to rush into some of the heavier emotional elements of the characters, and they didn't give the characters time to develop naturally and for their bonds to develop organically. If you take a show like Community, the first 10, 11 episodes of season 1, it's just characters interacting with each other and that being established, and you learn the history of these characters, but you don't delve deep into what makes them tick. You learn about them on a surface level. You learn how they're interacting together as a group in one-on-ones, and it might not be as engaging as some of the later seasons, but it's very necessary, and it can be done well. Take Marshall and Lily from How I Met Your Mother. They're a freshly engaged couple, and they are going through adventures, plot lines that are very newly engaged couple, right? There's nothing earth-shattering about what they're doing, but slowly over the course of that season, spoilers for a almost 20-year-old TV show, you start to see the cracks in the relationship. You start to see how this perfect couple maybe isn't a perfect couple, and by the end of season 1, it's season 1. By the end of season 1, they break up and they go their separate ways, and then we get to see each of them separately, and you really get to see the hurt, and you get to see the result of the hurt, and you get to see the growth, and it's organic, and it was well paced. You take Sophie in season 1, and we're just rushing in before we have connected with this character on a basic level. And we're getting these stories about her parents and not knowing her dad and how that's affected her, and that's all really interesting story pieces, but it's too soon. And if I meet somebody and 30 minutes later they're dumping their life story and their trauma on me, I'm sorry, I don't want to necessarily come back the next week and hang out with this person, because the relationship didn't grow organically. And That just felt like what they did with most of the relationships. They rushed Sophie and Jesse together, and it didn't felt forced. It felt good because the chemistry was there, but the relationship felt like it was on fast forward, and they got there too fast, and it didn't work. Uh, so I think that was kind of an example of How I Met Your Father learning the wrong lesson from How I Met Your Mother. You could also look at caricatures of characters, right? If you take Barney, he's the famous caricature of a womanizer. Nobody is like that, and maybe people are like that. But your average person, even your average person who's going out looking for ladies, they're not Barney. And it gives him so much room to grow and develop. But part of what made Barney work was despite his persona as a ladies' man, someone who's going out and picking up a girl every night, you don't see Barney score on screen maybe for the entirety of the first season or well into the first season. He's portrayed as this ladies' man, but in reality, or at least what we can see, we see him getting shot down. And so you get this conflict between the character and the caricaturization, that's a word, right, of Barney and the reality of Barney. And that gives him tension as a character, and it's what makes him great. You take a character like Ellen, who already has so much to work with, right? This adopted girl who's coming back into the city as an adult to reconnect with her estranged brother. Awesome storyline. And somehow Ellen is just boiled down to the stereotype of awkward, quirky Asian character. Which, even if we just move past how obnoxiously overdone that is, it's lazy, and it there's no, at least in the first season, there's no I'm portrayed as this awkward fish out of water character, but in reality I'm something else. What we see is different from what we see played out is different from what we see portrayed. She's just weird, and it doesn't work, and it's a huge bummer. Yeah, it's it sucks because by the time you got to the finale of season 2, they had started to smooth these edges out. They were taking their time telling stories. They were letting us get to know these characters. They fixed, I don't know if they fixed older Sophie for the final episode, but they at least reduced her presence, which in turn fixes her for the episode. That was another example of just a totally missed lesson. You take Bob Saget as old Ted. He's charming, and he's maybe a little cynical, and he looks back on his younger self with a little bit of disdain, but that's okay because we kind of all do that as we grow older. I'm closing in on 30, and I look back at myself at 16, and I just shudder. It's not something that I want to be anymore. But you take old Sophie, and if anything, she might be worse than young Sophie. Young Sophie has life and energy, and she has flaws, but she's charming enough that you're willing to overlook them because you want to see this character grow. And when you take someone like Ted, who's maybe young and naive, and he wants to meet a woman in the worst way, and it seems like he's going to meet a woman in the worst way, it's okay because we see old Ted, and he's matured, and it gives us the promise that Ted will get there eventually. It's very comforting as an audience member. Old Sophie sucks. She's bitter and just unpleasant and immature and selfish, and she has all of Sophie's flaws and then some. And you instead of looking forward to seeing this character grow, you get the ick. And it's not Kim Cattrall's fault, right? I think she did her best with what she was given. If you look at, I think, Will Smith and Margot Robbie in Suicide Squad, the bad one. I didn't see the second one, so I can't really speak to that. But I think they did the best possible job playing Deadshot and Harley Quinn, and doing and saying the things that the script called for them to do and say. Like, if Harley Quinn were to say this is exactly how she would say it. There's just an argument to be made that she would never say that. So it's not Margot Robbie's fault that the character wasn't the best. She did everything she could with a bad script. And I think Kim Cattrall did everything she could to deliver the script and the vision that the writers and the directors gave her. It was just a bad vision. And so, having less of her in the last episode made it feel better. Now, another thing the last episode did right was Drew and Valentina get together. And this is fantastic because you see Charlie and Valentina break up, and then you see them wanting to be together through the second season, but you have this gap of one of them wants kids, the other does not want kids. And they're mature enough as characters to realize, or as people, to realize, hey, this probably isn't going to work. People out there assume the other person is going to change, and then they don't, and it ends in heartbreak or unwanted children, which you just don't want to do that to a child. That's not cool. And so they go, okay, we won't be together. And Drew, who, side tangent, is the best character in the show, Josh Peck as Drew is phenomenal. Every time he's in an episode, he makes the episode better, and I think that's only maybe 1 or 2% Drake and Josh nostalgia. He's just fantastic. The character's well written. He portrays him he's so funny, and you feel it when he gets just dragged through the mud, and he's a great character. And so when he gets with Valentina, and then you're told outright, this is not going to end well, but Valentina and Charlie wouldn't have gotten together and realized that maybe that's not that good. You see Valentina and Charlie and their kids, and everyone looks happy. So at least with what we're given, they realize that they could be together, and maybe Charlie realizes that he does want kids. I don't know. This third season will never come out. We'll never see. But you're excited to watch this play out, even though you know it's going to end poorly, because you know there'll be a happy ending, even if it's not for Drew, because Drew just doesn't get happy endings. And so I'm left with this feeling of disappointment that a show that at best earns 2 out of 10 stars is getting canceled because it earned its cancellation. It was not good. And yet, for just a moment, we had a glimpse of what it could be. And what it could have been might have been fantastic. And we'll never know. Oh, hello. Didn't expect to see you here. Thank you for listening to this week's episode of the Top Podcast. I'm your host, Michael. If you enjoyed, leave us a like. If you didn't enjoy, leave us a dislike. It's all good. In the comments, let us know how the video section was. Is this something we should continue or practice in private, maybe get better at? Either way, hope you have a great week. Thanks for tuning in.